Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So first off, before I start the video, I do want to apologize for the lack of consistency in the YouTube videos. Me and Joe have both been like super busy with work, and then right when we come home from work, we've just been like streaming right after for a really long time every single day. So I guess to bank off of that, if you guys are looking to still get content from us like daily, swing over to the Twitch. We are live every single day, Monday through Monday. So if you guys are still trying to hang out, vibe with us, a lot of stuff goes down in the Twitch lives, so definitely feel free to come over and join whenever. The link is in the bio and will be in the description of this video. But with that being said, I do want to get into the video. In today's video, I want to go over kind of sort of like a gear progression for newer, even to later game players, because that is a lot of questions that we do get asked inside the live stream. So I did want to touch and make a video on it. So starting off the video, I'm going to be separating this video into early game, mid game, late game, and end game progression. Obviously, when you're in the late game or end game progression, you probably don't need any of this advice, but I'm going to go through it anyway just for people that are curious about it. So starting off with early game gearing, it's pretty simple. There's not really a ton of stuff that you can do differently, but I'm going to go through it anyway. So you're going to start with just your pencilier gear, and the way that you're going to get this gear is just solely from mob drops. Just by training overall, there's not really much you need to do with this. Maybe cubing it to epic. 2-line is totally fine. Aside from the pencilier gear itself, the weapon that you're probably going to want to use is either going to be between pencilier weapon or sweetwater weapon that you can get from doing CPQ, either voyages or from the CPQ party quest. Moving on to early game accessories, I'm going to start here with the rings first. You can get the Treasure John ring and the Chaos Horntail ring for like early game, really easy, accessible. The way that you get the Treasure John ring is from completing the NLC quest line, and Chaos Horntail ring, obviously it just drops from CHC itself. Same thing here guys, cubing these for epic 2-line is totally fine, and obviously as you move on you can turn this into drop gear at legendary, but solely talking about early game, epic 2-line for all this gear is totally fine and acceptable. So moving on to pendants and face and eye accessories. So for the pendant, you're gonna only probably be able to get normal horntail pendant or chaos horntail pendant, and for the eye and face, it's just gonna be Zakum eye and face. Obviously, like, you can get carries for Dom pendants or work towards getting a Sweetwater pendant, but since I'm just solely talking about early game progression, I think Chaos Horntail pendant and normal Horntail pendant will be the only things that you'll probably be able to get starting off. Belt, you can either work towards getting a pink bean belt and hope for good RNG that it drops, or you can maybe try to get a Chaos Zakum carry as well and get that, and that'll also work towards that boss set effect. You can also get the cup for the pocket slot accessory, the cup which will end up being probably your main pocket slot item until you get way later into the game, into the end game, and getting pitch boss. And then for your WSC, at this point in the game, early game, you're totally fine with just settling with a 2-line epic, or maybe potentially pushing to unique. Same thing with the secondary, you can just purchase it from the shop, and 2-line epic or unique is totally fine in early game progression. Now moving on to mid game progression, you're going to end up replacing a lot of that pencilier gear, and you're going to end up going with a CRA top, bottom, hat, and also the weapon at this point in the game. Again, I'm just going in the stages of which a newer player would go about progressing. So you're going to use that weapon so you can progress towards the next set of gear, which is going to be the Apso gear. And you're going to end up getting your Apso shoulder, boots, gloves, cape, and then eventually you will end up replacing that CRA weapon with an Apso lab weapon as well. Now obviously, the Apso gear does take time to get, but they did end up making it a lot easier. So now when you do those weekly quests, you can now get 20 coins every week instead of 12, so pretty much 1 coin a week. So it only takes 2 weeks to get any of the gear, and then 4 weeks to get the weapon. For your accessories, moving from things like the Horntail pendant, Zakamai accessories, and the rings. You'll end up replacing a lot of those with a Superior ring, Reinforced ring, Kindness treasure, and Meister ring. The Superior and Reinforced ring, obviously it's just time gated, and you do have to just wait for coins, so it does take a little bit of time. But the Kindness treasure, you can end up working either towards getting a carry to kill Pino, or you can work in terms of solo progression to getting to a point where you can solo it yourself. Meister ring does take a lot of time, and I definitely don't recommend going straight for the Meister, just because you do have to work on crafting and getting up to Meister accessory crafting. I only recommend people crafting one Meister ring to begin with, and then stacking up a lot of the items needed to craft more right before an event, so you can have a lot of those stacked up without having to completely keep up Meister crafting. Moving on into pendants, we're going to be looking at replacing the Chaos Horntail pendant and normal Horntail pendant with a Superior pendant or Sweetwater pendant. Obviously, again, same kind of concept here with the Superior pendant. It is time gated and you just have to wait for coins to drop. But the Sweetwater pendant, you can work getting that a little bit quicker through things like CPQ voyages or just a CPQ party quest. One thing to note here, you do want to have a Dominator pendant that you can flame and then transpose into the Sweetwater pendant, and I would just go and look into other videos for transposing, because I'm not going to go over it too much here. The face and eye, same thing, kind of keep the trend rolling with Sweetwater. You're going to want to go with a Sweetwater tattoo or a monocle or a black bean mark if you're not lucky enough to see a pat mark drop. Now again, these items will be replaced, but in terms of progression overall mid-game, I think that Sweetwater tattoo and monocle are definitely the two most feasible face and eye accessories to get. For heart, you can definitely go with a fairy heart. That's totally okay. I definitely wouldn't recommend waiting for a Wondroid event to come around, because it might never come around again. So definitely just bite the bullet, spend the 2 bill on the fairy heart and go with that, and you'll probably hold on to that for a while until a further event comes along. And then for your WSE, you want to upgrade those from unique to probably 2-line attack at legendary, and maybe you get lucky and you roll a 3-line. But for the most part, you want to keep all of your gear now at this point in the game unique / legendary 2 to 3-line. I definitely would not recommend spending a ton of money to get your gear to 3-line at this point. You should definitely work towards getting that Star Force up. And then also for the Star Force overall, you want to try to keep everything around 15 to 17 stars around this mid-game progression point. Now moving into late game, we're going to be replacing a lot of those items. We're also going to be keeping a few of them as well. So for your arcane gear, you're going to work towards getting shoulders, boots, gloves, cape, and then also the weapon. I definitely don't recommend buying the weapon, especially with the changes with the arcane box drops, because it is a lot easier to get now. So just try and hold off, try and get all of your other gear before you do end up buying the weapon if you choose to. But I definitely don't recommend buying the weapon at any point in the game unless you really want it or it's right before an event. For the rings, we're going to be keeping the Superior and the Reinforced ring, and we're going to be trying to work towards getting a slime ring / potentially Oz rings if you are running it, or if you are at that point in the game. If you're not going for Oz, you can definitely sit on the Kindness treasure for the time being until you do end up swapping it out for an Oz ring, and ideally you do want to go for that Roar 4 or Weapon Jump 4. But as you guys have seen probably if you're in the Twitch live streams, they're very hard to get, so don't spend a lot of your time at that early stage of late game going for it when you could be farming or gaining levels. So now at this point at the game, you do want to have a lot of your stuff legendary and 2.5 lines minimum, and you want to be aiming for your Star Force to be between 17 and 22 stars. I always recommend everybody get your gear to 21, all of it, before you start to tap 21 to 22. I've seen a lot of people really grief themselves going for just all 22s and never settling at 21. Settle at everything 21 stars first, and then think about going to 22 stars. It's much more efficient, and it's just much more mentally enjoyable instead of just booming everything 20 to 22 and never seeing any gains. And then also touching on this point, since it is this point in the game, familiars, you do want to be trying to go for those boss fams or ID fams or percent attack. Whatever you get lucky enough with. Familiars are extremely hard to get in the game right now, so whatever you can get, take it. And it's just an RNG factor at the end of the day, so try to stay in limb as long as possible. But it's up to you solely at the end of the day. I'm going to just touch on endgame here real quick. I know anybody watching this that is endgame doesn't need me to tell them what they're going to have. They already know. But for endgame players, you're going to be working towards that Jenny Wep, all pitch boss accessories. Your Star Force is all going to be full 22s. potentials will all be 3-line and your flames will be finished. Now, if you guys are still here at the point of the video and you're like a mid to late game player, I do want to talk about flaming, cubing, and star forcing. The way that you do want to go about it is always work towards getting your star force up first. After you've gotten everything to an ideal spot, then maybe work towards getting items from 2 to 3 line. And then once you've done all of that, then you can work towards actually finishing flames on items. Don't spend a ton of money early on trying to get items to 3-line. It does not help your damage that much. Your star force is going to help your damage a ton more. So try to hold off on that if you can. But for now, guys, I think that's going to wrap up the entire video. I went over a lot in this whole video, so if you do have questions about anything, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And again, I'm going to say it, pull up to the Twitch, guys. We're live every single day. Twitch lives do really well. They're super fun, super enjoyable. We have a lot of people who come on, tap on stream, pitch boss, Oz runs, hard bosses, training, all that stuff. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up the video for here. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and until next time, I will see you later. Peace.